Assalamu alaikum, I'm Saman Shakir, and today in this video we will learn that how to create a form in HTML. For creating a form in HTML, first of all we have to create a HTML5 page. Click on the create page and we will go in the code section. Here a basic structure of the code is here. I will write application form instead of this untitled document to give it a proper name. I will save the page with the name form. Now I will come in the body section, and for creating a form we will use a tag form. I will close it. It has an ending tag also. Now I will come in the middle section of this tag, and as we want a user to type a username, so I will simply write username, right? I will save the page and I will split the screen for you people. So you are seeing that in the live section username is written here, right? Similarly, I will write it with the label tag, which is a proper method. It has an ending tag also. I will write username here also. Both gives the same result as you are seeing in the live section. But here we will use label tag because of the visually impaired people, because the screen reader reads aloud for the blind people, right? So we will use label tag. I will remove username from here, right? Now I will use a tag input, which is the main topic of today's tutorial. Now I will use the attribute type, which is the main attribute, because if you see there are many values of this attribute, but as we want the user to type the username, so we will select the text value. I will use an attribute name which serves as a container for the input tag, because it holds the value or input of this field while submitting this form. Say I can name this uname, right? And I will close this tag. You are seeing in the live section that here we have the form with the username and an input field, right? But I want it to be on the next line, so I will use the br tag. Similarly, I will use br tag here, so it should be in the proper sequence, right? So I will again use the same label and the input field. I will copy paste it here and I will type password here. But as you know that password section is hidden, right? If I type it here, it is shown, right? Similarly, if I type it here, it is also shown, right? So as you people know that password field is hidden, so in this section simply come in the type field and replace it with the password value. Now you can simply see that it is hidden now, right? It is automatically done for you people simply when you select the value of the type attribute password, right? Here I will tell you that if the for attribute for label is same like the id attribute of the input tag, the values of these two should be same. Say we can type password and the same should be written. I will copy this value from here and I will paste it from there. This is used to bind the label tag and the input tag, right? And one thing more, I have copied this value from this, but you have to remember that the name or value of this field and name value of this field should be different, as this serves as the container, right? So I will use password, right? I will give it a different name, and this ID attribute is also used for styling purposes, and I will discuss this in the next tutorials, right? So let's create a submit button. I will start 10 input tag, and in the type attribute I will select the value submit, right? Here we have the option submit, but we will select the value attribute, and in this value attribute you have to write the value which you want to be represented on your submit button. I will close the tag, and you can simply see that you have this submit button on your screens. Now I will save the page. Now, as you know that when you submit a form, when you click on this button, this form will be submitted and you will go on the next page. This thing will be shown from here. You will come in the form section, and you will write this action attribute, and the value will be any page. Like suppose we can say that we will browse from here and say I will select this page, right? That when I will submit this form, these value will be submitted to the other page, right? But here is one thing, that the point is that either these values will be shown in the URL field or not. If I want to show them in the URL field, then I have an option which is method. I will select get. If I will select get, the values will be shown in the URL field. I will show you people by going in the browser, right? We have the form and we have created username and password and a submit button, like you are seeing here. Username, and I will type Saman, and the password, right? And when I click on the submit page, the page will have to go on the next page, which was basic elements, and this is the page where I am going, right? So you have seen. Now let's come again to the code section, and we will write and use other input tags also. And now come in here and copy the tag from here and paste it here. Now I will require email ID of the user. Email ID of the user. But remember that I have to change the for section email, and similarly ID and email should be same, right? And this name should be unique as it serves as the container of this value, right? Now you can see in this section, right? Here I'll tell you that there is an attribute which is known as required. If I will write required here in the input section, right? So it will not allow the user until and unless he has to fill the value here, right? Now let's check on the page. Okay, now I will simply submit the button and see I have write required in the code. So here the form is telling you that you have to fill the value. I will fill the value, right? And I will submit it. So you will see that you have to fill the form and fill the username, right? Now I will again come in the code and I will write this required attribute in all the input tags, right? Which is necessary for those tags which you require your user to fill it, right? Simply I will write here also required attribute, because username is also important. You require your user to fill the username, password and email ID also, right? So let's go in the preview section. I will write someone, and here I will write the password, and I will write the value here, and I will submit the form, right? So you have seen that the value, I have submitted the value, right? Let's come again in the code. Here there is an issue with the code. What is the issue? Issue is that you have to change the value of this field as email, because HTML5 gives you the option of email in the type attribute. Now when you submit the form, here I will see that, look, it will automatically tell you, because of the required attribute, that please include a valid email address, and let's say it should have @and.com, right? So I will submit it, right? Now come in the code section again. I will write the other tags also. I will copy the code from here and I will paste it here. The next label is user, it is mobile number, right? Because I want the user to enter his or her mobile number. I will, and this should be same as ID of the input tag, right? Change this also to the mobile section, and this will be, the type attribute will be TEL, which is basically used for the phone numbers, right? HTML gives you this option of TEL attribute, so you can easily require a telephone number from your user, right? Now let's run the page. So you are seeing that your form is populated, right? So let's go again in the code section, and you will again write the same, copy the same code, and now you have to require select date of birth. I want the user to give date of birth, but as you know that he should write the date of birth in the terms of day, date and obviously month and year, right? So I will write select date of birth, right? Here I will write DOB, similarly as DOB, and I will write date birth, so it should be unique. And here I have the attribute which is date. Okay, date will give me simply the option that I will easily select a date from a calendar, right? As you can see, you have the calendar option here, and you can simply select a date from here by only doing a simple change, which is, now I want the user to select the month, right? So I will write select month in the content section of the label, and here I will replace it with month, and the same will be copied here, as you know that for an ID will be same, and here the value will be month, right? And the name section should also be unique, as it will serve as a container. And you can see that from here you can simply select the month, right? Now we will again go in the code section, and I'll simply paste my code here of the label and the input, right? And now I want my user to enter the CNIC. I'm simply making a form by using label and tag, right? And only I'm changing the type value of the type attribute where it is required, right? So I will write CNIC here, simply CNIC, and I will write ID in this section, and it can be text, right? So it can be text. I will save it, and you will see that CNIC is here, right? Now I will go in the code section again. Now I want my user to write that, how do you hear about us? I will simply write, how do you hear about us, right? And I want my user to select the values from two checkboxes, which are newspaper and Facebook. Now the question arises that how I can make a checkbox, right? So I will use the same code as we have used here, but I will give the value checkbox, right? Checkbox, and you know that you have to change this value. Now I will simply write, I will not write the name here, right? I will run the page for you people, and you are seeing here that here it is the label and here it is the checkbox. Because of what? Because of the input field. But there is no nothing is written in front of the checkbox. So what we have to do, we will write we will take the label section and we will write newspaper here, newspaper, right? So I will check in the code live section that here you are seeing that newspaper, and but this BR tag should be used. So the submit button will be in the next line, right? As you are seeing here. And there is a typing mistake. I will make it correct. Now let's make another checkbox, right? I will copy this checkbox and the label also from here, right? Because there are two values. I said there are two values. One is newspaper and the other is Facebook. So I will write Facebook here, right? You can see in this section that there are two values, newspaper and Facebook, right? With the two checkboxes, and you can select any of them, right? But here is a point which is very important in the checkbox. And the point is that you can either select one value, you can either select two values, and you can either select none of them. So you have to give the value of the name section different in both the checkboxes. Both are checkboxes, but you have to give different value for different label, right? I will give NP here and FB here. Now I will save it. Actually, in this scenario, there is when the value is submitted to the next page, it is submitted in the form of array, right? So that's why we have used different values of the checkboxes, right? So now let's make another label, which is gender, gender, right? And you know that you have to type two values, which can be the radio boxes, right? Which can be the radio buttons, and they will be simply I will type input, as you know, and type will be radio button, right? Radio. I will type radio, and in the name section I will make it empty here, right? I'll tell you that what will be done when I will make a input tag with the type radio, right? So I'll come in the preview tag, and here you can see that it is because of the label and this is because of the radio button, right? But there is nothing written in front of the radio button, so you know that we can write with the name with the label tag, right? So I can simply write name, right? And copy the value, copy the same, and write it as female. Now remember that radio button has the same name in both the radio buttons, right? I can write RD. It should be same in the other radio button also. This is the main point, right? That the name attribute will have the same value of both the radio buttons, or either 3 radio buttons or 4 radio buttons, but the name value of the name will be same, right? And the value of the checkboxes will be different because it will serve as an array, right? And you know that you have to select only one value of the radio button, so that's why this value attribute will be same, right? And you can write the value attribute as male and here you can write it as female. Now run your page and you can simply see that you have the two checkboxes here and the two radio buttons here, right? When you will select it, it will be deselected automatically, but it is not looking good, so we will type a BR tag here, so the male radio button will be in the next line. So let's come in the code again and type BR tag here, right? So now you have the male in the next section, right? Now here is a point, an attribute which I will tell you that if you want a value to be selected when the user fills the form, then write here that if you want your checkbox to be automatically selected when you see a page, then you have the option checked here, right? I have write checked in front of the newspaper, right? So the newspaper option will be checked when the page is loaded, right? Similarly, if I want female to be selected, so I will write checked here, right? And you can see that female is checked, right? Now I will again use a page, right? I will copy from here and I will require, now I will write images if any, images if any. So I want the user to select the file. So here I will select the file value of the type attribute, which is the main important thing, and simply you have to change the this value file, and the name will be unique, as you know, file, right? So if you see here, then you have a browse button from which a user can select the values, right? Use, I will copy the same, and I want the user to change the theme of the page. So I will, here I will use the color value of the type attribute, right? And as accordingly, I will change the foreign ID attribute, right? So I will run the page. You can see, and I can change the value from here also. How I can change the value? By you can write any color of the attribute, right? FF triple zero, and I will save the code and run my page, which will give this color, and you can change it to any other color. It gives the palette actually. This input field gives the palette actually, right? I will write the BR tag here, and the one thing is important that we have used file here, so we will come in this section and I will write an attribute enc type, which is enc type, and I will select multipart form data. It is used when we are using a file attribute, right? So in this video we have created a simple form. Thank you so much for watching the video.